Don't know where the microphone is here. The Ambiguity of Despondency. An original concept, passion project, which I devised to summarize authenticity. The semantic summarization of art through all of its ambiguous tonal and atonal orchestrations and intonations. The theme of the album was to encapsulate the human condition to the extent of which I could perceive it through my own experience, much as to each and every single person does through their own retrospective and retroactive ruminations. The point of this album, should there ever be some dogmatic conclusion to, well, any surmise, I suppose you could say, was simply to create some etymological context to the way that my neurological responses were hampering and harping throughout the conscience and throughout its conscious and unconscious, conceptualizations. The point of the album, if there was one, was rather Schopenhaueristic, in the sense that it was almost absurd, but such as art. It was to sort of summarize the sort of Sasquatchalian nature of the unidentifiable and the uncharacterizable within the conscience, of which could only be dogmatically characterized, I suppose, through means of epistemology. And, it probably wasn't the best format to conduct such an experiment. Perhaps there were greater means of conducting art. However, I do see music and its surrounding media formats, especially in the information era, as it's come to be known, of the 2000s and 2010s of the Gregorian years. I felt this was the best way to characterize the understandings, I suppose. The album has been in a work for at least 6 months now. It started in the summer of 2022. I expected to get it finished off before I went back to doing the more, generalized off-color versions of pop rock music, and all that cliche sort of genre, hipster sort of music. That was sort of the aim, but with this album it was sort of to create less of a concept and more of a tribulated more of a tribulated, categorized version of what had been, the original concepts and whatever else needed to be articulated in more of a sonically dynamic and, divulgeable form. And I feel like this was the best means of compromise with what I wanted the complete summarization of the album to be, in not just concept and theory, but in the empirical actual deliverance of the album. So, yeah, it's almost complete at this point. I mean, currently, as I'm doing this video diary, we are currently just processing the vocals and actually recording some of the more nuanced and revised attempts at keeping it within the scales, the Phrygians, the Dorians, major, minor, or anything atonal for the sake of, design, choice, preference. But, the ambiguity of despondency is not just the ambiguity of despondency, it's about the ambiguity of what music is capable of being, is capable of, being, in the sense that any human being is capable of being within the respects of their own thresholds and whatever else. This album was sort of an attempt at breaking the thresholds of what had previously been categorized and then, fulfill the notions of which they were supposed to expand upon, I suppose. We were supposed to branch out with this album before we went back to the studio and recorded more of something a bit more sentimental, something a bit more earnest when it came to the delivery of something that was a lot more catered towards, online streaming services, live music. This was supposed to be something a lot more artistic than that. It was supposed to be, our dark side of the moon. It was supposed to be what else is quite seminal in the sense that it was, seminal in the sense that it was pioneering. This was our attempts to be pioneering into a genre that could only be categorized through means of some sort of online archive or something. Like how most Bandcamp albums are like that. But this was our attempt at making something sonically sound, something industry standard, which was also so dynamic in the way that it was done that it pushed the boundaries of what compositional structuring was, what was capable of being done with analog systems, what was capable of being done with digital synthesization, but it also had, we wanted it to have, like, listenability, and it wasn't just one of them avant-garde noise sort of projects that was just like, noise for the sake of being coloured, characterised and toned noise. This was something that we really had a theme in mind, and we really wanted to explore that and sort of have something tangible behind the concept besides the scripture and the tapestry that was supposed to be an enigma to go along with it. It's ambiguous in the sense that it's perceivable by any mind, but it's also ambiguous in the sense that it's despondent and almost catatonic and falls short. And with regards to that, that is the best I can summarise this album. Thank you.